ready to start. Everybody else, well,
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's a privilege to be here. Mayra Joli and Mayra are here to talk about immigration and answer a lot of your questions. I'm sure there's a lot of curiosity about a lot of different issues going on right now. They have extensive experience, definitely over 50 years practicing immigration law. Mayra Joli right now is also running for Coral Gables Commissioner 2. And right here in this beautiful city, beautiful of Coral Gables. And if you have any questions, please address it at the end of the presentation. They will be having this on the webinar, and with the link probably on your website. You can probably
also be on Facebook Live.
On Facebook Live. That way, you can always go back and after we record it, you can take a look at it again and pass it on to others. Okay. So let's have a round of applause for Kate and Mayra.
Okay, well, Martha and I have been, I'm gonna use, it's not necessary to use a microphone because there is good audio here, but you know, for the sake of the people that are on Zoom and live video and YouTube, we're gonna be making it. I'm gonna use this, you talk very loud so we don't have to share the microphone. Yeah. So what is happening is this, is that we have been hearing a lot of talk, a lot of noise about immigration. We have to understand that it's not a matter of, oh, well, you know, I'm already a citizen, I was born here, and I don't need to hear what's happening. Everything that happened with immigration will affect us one way or the other, good or bad. Everybody, I can say 90% of all Americans have somebody or know somebody that has some problems with immigration, and then maybe we wanted to know more in order to be able to help them. But the best thing to do for everyone, and people who have problems or may know somebody with problems, is to be informed. There's nothing more powerful than knowing what is the situation of the person you want to help or yourself. What is happening in your past immigration history and what is happening today. And that way, you won't be able to be the victim of anyone. We are immigration attorneys, but we're supposed to swear an oath to the truth and to help people. But not everybody is an angel like we are. There are other attorneys that can really pose as attorneys and then take your money and run. And after that, maybe you're going to end up in a situation that is worse than the one that you had before. So the reason we put together this workshop, this taller, is for just to give a little bit of clarity on what is happening now. It's very well, it track a lot of, it has a lot of traction every time there is a change of administration, and the person who needs to have the immigration status in check will say, well, now is my turn. But you know, 4 years go by, 8 years go by, and then the whole 30 years go by, and it's never the turn of anyone, because government is not there to resolve your situation. Attorneys are here to resolve the situation using, navigating, and flowing with the immigration system instead of fighting the immigration system. And activists cannot do anything for you. A government official cannot do anything for you. An attorney, an immigration attorney, is the one who is going to be able to analyze what happened in your case and how can you break that cycle of I paid money and nobody did anything for me, and I have an attorney, I don't know what he's doing. You break the cycle when you know where you are. I'm going to have Mayra Gonzalez is also a sole practitioner, immigration attorney. We practice immigration exclusively, and she has collaborated with us on many occasions over the years, you know, trying to help different sections of the community with the need. Many people ask me, why do we have an immigration workshop in Coral Gables? Coral Gables doesn't have any problem. Perhaps would be good. But the people that you associate with in Coral Gables perhaps have a problem. It would be good if you can at least tell them, well, I guess the better advice that I can give you is go to an attorney that will tell you the truth. So, Ms. Gonzalez, can you tell us something about what's happening right now in immigration?
So I think right now, a little bit of piggybacking on what you said, there's a lot of chatter out there as to what's going on, right? We get phone calls, I'm sure you get the phone calls, I get phone calls all the time with clients now saying, well, I heard they're gonna give us all residency now. I heard there's a law now that's gonna start giving all of us residency. And going to what you said about Coral Gables, I have a lot of friends, other fellow attorneys, other clients that call my office and say, well, you know, my nanny doesn't have papers. They're gonna be giving out residencies now, right? So I think you've heard a lot about that too now with the new administration. And that's not true, at least not right now. We think maybe, hopefully they'll get together, both sides, and bring something forward. It's kind of like what you said, right? Every 4 years, every 8 years, we have a change in administration. And every time we have a change in administration, the pendulum always swings one way or the other. But I think Mayra and I really became good friends after we went to Lobby Day in Washington, D.C. in 2009, right? And we've been going to D.C. lobbying for immigration reform since then. And with different administrations, back then it was the Obama administration, and we also went during the Trump administration. And not a lot happened. Here and there we had a few changes, here and there, but nothing significant. So I'm definitely hoping that this year, or next year, we'll have some kind of coming together of minds, because obviously we need both parties and we need a bipartisan immigration reform, right? But you know, that's where we're at right now, and I think that's why we said, okay, we need to, you know, put something together and talk to the community, because we're hearing so much chatter out there with regards to what they hear in Univision, what they hear on Telemundo, and or Channel 7 News about, you know, some lawyer out there will come out, or a notary, even worse, right? A notary will come out and say something regarding what's going on, and it's really to cause some sense of, you know, oh, you know, what's going on. So people call their office, right? They want to know, and so they call their office and they give a consult and whatnot. And so, you know, there's not a lot going on right now. It depends on what exactly where you're at with your case.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Right now, and when you hear a lot of talk about these famous 100 days, how many? The famous 100 days, and when the administration claimed that nobody's going to be removed in 100 days, the problem with that is that 100 days will go very fast when somebody is in trouble. If it's a vacation, maybe 100 days doesn't go as far, but if somebody is in the line to be removed, 100 days is not. And usually it takes at least 100 days for between the motion to submitting a motion and submitting request for the person not to be removed. It will take about 90 days, and then maybe 10 more days for all the paperwork to be ready to send them out. So nobody is keeping us making or doing us any favor.
I think we had this conversation when we first happened. We were laughing on the phone. We said, but that's what's been going on since the pandemic hit, really, because the Miramar ERO, which is Enforcement and Removal Operations Office, has been closed now since when? May 2020.
Since May 2020, and there is no opening in sight.
And there's no opening in sight, and really that's where we report our clients and we're plan of actions to have clients removed begins. Here and there, obviously, there's detention, you know, enforcement going on within detention facilities and whatnot, but that's also been slow in coming with all of the new COVID issues. So when they said 100 days, we're going to stop all of removal, we said, well, that's not a lot, you know, because the reality is that it's been going on. So it's nothing really new per se.
Absolutely. And the sad thing is that we have clients who have paid big money. I don't know where they get the cash, but they pay big money for people who say this is what you have to put together so you're ready when they give the okay to what? There's no okay to give. There's nothing.
They were charging $3,000. They were charging $3,000 for that new Venezuelan employment authorization that is not ready to go yet.
It's not ready to go. They are talking about the Venezuelans having some sort of a stop of the removal, temporary protective status. But the Venezuelans, the majority of Venezuelans come to the United States through the airport, which means that not many of them are going to be detained at the border. The problem comes when there is a shift, when people who don't have much holding of what it is, immigration, thing like, oh, well, we have to be compassionate, everybody have to be let in because everybody have to look for the betterment of their future. What happened is that we have a large portion of immigrants that are our clients that are here in the United States. Somebody asked me if this workshop was to promote illegal immigration. No. The same way, divorce attorneys don't give work to promote family separation. They're there to help if there's nothing more to do with the marriage. But in cases like immigration attorneys, we are not here to promote illegal immigration. That's what activists do. They go and tell the people, now the doors are open. Let's send all the coyotes over there. I have clients who pay $15,000 just to be crossing the border. The crisis at the border doesn't start when they come in. It starts when they leave their houses, because those governments are as good as nothing, that their citizens are leaving because there's nothing to do there or whatever it is that's happening. So now the receiving end is the United States of America. We have close to 20 million people. It's not 11 million because this is the more number. 11 million, it's been 11 million for like 10 years. It's impossible. If we know that around 3,000 people are allowed to come in through the border, so the 11 million is not a very accurate figure. So right now, when we have close to 20 million people inside the United States, we have to start thinking, don't we have to at least give some sort of relief to the people that are inside the United States before we allow more people in? Compassionate or not compassionate? United States being open to all the immigrants or not? We have to have some, in the chaos, we have to have some order. So at least some large portion of the population can be helped. So right now, with all the people that we have inside the United States, that is not promoting illegal immigration because the immigration is already here. What we're trying to do is stabilize the immigration status of the ones that are here, sharing our streets and probably working in some people's houses. No, me, I do my own, but some people's houses. So that's where the whole immigration attorneys are not going to resolve everything, not even in one day. Sometimes we need that much. Sometimes we get lucky, we get people out of jail, because there was something wrong with the paperwork or whatever. We can do that in one day, but it's rarely we can resolve an immigration situation.
It takes time. So I'll give you an example, and I think we speak about this yesterday about the gentleman who I had with the employment authorization card who ended up going to another office recently. So I had a gentleman with an employment authorization card who we had applied for his employment authorization card, and there's such a thing as an asylum clock. And the clock was stopped, and he decided, we had applied for his employment authorization, and there was an issue with the clock and whatnot. So he decided to go to one of these notary services to get his paperwork and whatnot done. And long story short, he ended up calling me yesterday, and he desperately helped, asking for my help. And it happens a lot. I served on the UPL committee with the Florida Bar for 6 years, and we saw so many people getting taken advantage of, right?
Unauthorized
UPL, sorry, unauthorized practice of law, which is basically your notaries, your paralegals, people who are at these small shopping centers, or even friends and family who think they know what they're doing. And
these bar attorneys.
or just bar attorneys who, are working on the side and, they may offer a service a little cheaper. Sometimes they offer their services a lot more expensive than we do. And, but they get all of these clients and, even though they think they know what they're doing and clients think they know what they're doing, they end up ruining their cases, right? And then we have to kind of fix
it, and
Fix
it's
the mess.
and a cost, because in immigration there is no such thing as an attorney paid by the government. Attorneys are paid by the client, and we are not. There's one misconception also. Attorneys are there, and they are compassionate, they're good. They will work for free. No, we don't, and we are very pricey because we take pride in the work that we do. And when somebody comes to our door, we make sure that person feels that he's a member of our family who is in need.
and we invest our time and we see them like family members. So,
Absolutely.
right? I tell my clients all the time, today I was rushing out, we're on an appointment at 4 o'clock out of the office. I took a call, a last minute phone call. I said, I'm doing this because you're like family to me. So, I think we both feel the same way about that. I think, they're like they become part of the family for us. And, and I tell my clients all the time, look, you want a good service, I need to have staff and I need to pay them. And these other, sometimes you have these workshops and whatnot that do free applications and whatnot, but it's not an attorney looking at the forms many times. And the issue with that is that mistakes are made and, it's not, it'll end up costing them more than one.
Absolutely, and we have to come to an agreement of what exactly is it that we want to see immigration do, what kind of direction we want immigration to take immigration, because we love to have all that business, but we cannot, in good faith as immigration attorneys, pretend that we don't care what happened with the community, with the country, just in exchange for a big bank account. That we would be material to take our license revoked if that's our only intention, just to make money. It can be viewed that way because eventually we will know that if there is uncontrolled immigration, nobody will be able to be served well, neither the good, the bad, or the ugly, anyone. So we have to have an understanding that working in immigration is not a matter of being uncompassionate or a matter of not feeling that we are the lucky ones. Yeah, we are the lucky ones. But we don't do any good to anyone just by feeling sorry for everybody and beating ourselves, down the ground because we are the lucky ones. We see if we can help the others around us. And having, discussing or having a little bit more of understanding what is happening around us, even if we don't have the need for an immigration attorney, at least we know what is happening. Many people may know one or two people who have a problem with immigration and they need papers, one or two, but it's different from having 5,000 or 6,000, like, in combination over the years, we have to resolve their situation. And it's case specific for everyone. There's something that is very, if you know of somebody who has an immigration problem, and you really don't know what else to tell them, where to turn, at least ask them, do you know where you are? You know what happened in your past? Or where you know? FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. We have heard that,
So important.
there you go.
So important to have that. So the Freedom of Information Act, when it comes to immigration, provides us with a copy of the client's file. And it's so important, especially when you're practicing ethically, which is what Mayra is referring to actually have a copy of immigration, of the client's immigration file. For a client, it's important to have a copy of their file. Sometimes I tell clients, look, there's not much I can do right now, but you may want to order a copy of your file so that you have a copy of everything that's been done in your case in case something, some new law comes into play that will protect you or whatnot. The FOIA requests are so important.
Or you don't visit the attorney because sometimes the client comes to you and they don't know anything about their case. So you have to start digging. If they come with the consent in this case, if they come with that disc, all the history is there. Unless the person entered and there was no interaction with immigration at the border, if they entered, we're talking about more so.
And they haven't filed any kind of applications, any kind of work permits, any kind of asylum applications, then maybe you don't need one. But
you don't need one.
You don't need
Exactly. If you know that that's the case.
But that's usually not the case.
Exactly.
Usually we have someone that's either been intercepted at the border or somewhere else, and or they filed an asylum application because they've been promised a work permit or promised a driver's license, and so it's always a good idea to have a copy of your
Of the file, because that will bring, it's like an X-ray. And you cannot tell the doctor, give me ibuprofen 300 milligrams. The doctor's gonna say, well, let me see what you have. I need to have X-rays, I need to have a lab work, so I know what's the treatment, what am I gonna give you. So that copy of immigration file is very important for us to see what is there. Know what you have in your house, but what immigration has in their file, because that's where everything's gonna come from. Yeah, it's everything's gonna come from there. And why are we talking about the asylum aspect? Because asylum is the go-to of anybody who doesn't have anything else to ask for. Just ask for asylum. And what happens is that the asylum protection gets prostituted, and then nobody needs anything anymore.
And not only that, it's so important. Well, first of all, if someone has an asylum claim, they should do it within the first year. So we're definitely not advocating for people not to file their asylum claims. Obviously, we're advocating for people to go to a lawyer, whether it's us or whether it's someone else. Go to a good lawyer and make sure that you put your case forward before them, and get informed as to whether or not you actually have an asylum claim. So asylum claims are not everybody can file an asylum claim, right? You have to have been persecuted in the past based on one of the 5 enumerated grounds, and you have to have a fear of future persecution. And what happens is a lot of people, especially these notaries and paralegals, tend to tell people, well, I'm going to get you a work permit, or I'm going to get you a driver's license, and the way to do that is we're going to file an asylum application. But what happens with filing the asylum application is that you're going to get an interview. Many times they give the wrong address, right? They give the address of their office, and they don't give the client's address. The client never gets a copy of the interview notice. Or sometimes the clients do go to the interview, but either way, most of the time they'll get referred to the immigration court, especially if they don't have a good, solid asylum.
Like usually is, everything is fabricated,
right?
And then why are you afraid of returning to your country? Because it's better here. I don't have a job there. Why have you been persecuted in the past? No.
And that's definitely not going to work.
Any family members being persecuted in the past? No.
So and so what happens is once they're in removal proceedings, if they can't prove their case and they have no other form of relief, then they'll end up with a removal order.
And the filing a frivolous asylum application, and that's deadly for any case, because it's even if you have a good case in the future, having found to file a frivolous asylum application, something completely fabricated, and let me tell you, it's completely fabricated. The person has to be a good actor and with a good memory to pull an asylum claim that is false. I mean, they will. Some people have fooled me, but if they fool the attorney, well, they're in a good track, because we believed it, and if we believe it, that's how we're gonna portray it. And then years later, when they become a citizen, they find you. Oh, you were my attorney. My attorney, remember? Yeah. How you doing? and you know, you don't have any more trauma about it. Well, you know, I picked that up. I said, I'm gonna pretend I haven't seen you in a while after your citizenship. Because that could be revoked too. The citizenship can be revoked, and they find out that the whole thing about that I was kidnapped and I was raped by the sergeant and the lieutenant and everybody. If they find out that you make that up and you carry it on all the way to the citizenship, everything gets destroyed, and there is no way to get out of that.
And you're talking in this scenario, someone who after they got their citizenship came up to you and said, well,
Exactly. Yeah. But it happened in immigration officials are getting more and more weak, more astutos. They know now, they feel it.
especially in Miami.
Especially in Miami.
It's all for
And the marriage for papers, it doesn't work anymore. It's better to just go at it with what you have. Just talk to the attorney. Don't tell them everything. No. Don't go there and say, well, you know, now that to the attorney and the doctor, you have to tell them everything. Well, I pay this guy. No, don't tell me, because if you do, I won't be able to continue representing you if you confess and you pay somebody to marry you.
And the fraud investigations are just
It's a
getting
fraud,
I
yeah.
had a client today where they went to her ex-spouse's home and pretty much interrogated, the guy actually has COVID, and said, I can't go to COVID. So the poor man, he's an elderly man, he was afraid that something had happened to his son. And it was actually his ex-wife who got married and they're conducting fraud investigation. She's a real marriage. But you know, they've been conducting this fraud investigation for about a year now. And they've gone to their apartment, they went to their place of employment, they went to now to the ex-spouse's house, and just all sorts of things. And so, you know, people have to be careful. We get that question all the time. Well, you know, can I get married for the papers? Yeah. Can I have a friend? I have this really good friend. Or my nanny has this guy who she knows. I mean, she doesn't like him, but he knows and he's willing to help her. And I'm like,
It's not a good fit.
don't do it.
It's better to, if the person already had an order of removal, sometimes he is in better shape than somebody that doesn't have an order of removal. Because the person who had the order of removal will be able to request a petition to stay or suspend the removal going to ICE and Miramar. And sometimes ICE officers have more leeway and more power than a judge, because the judge is there just to do whatever the book said, and they have the trial attorney who represents the government eager to have people deported, and then us, the poor attorneys, trying to keep the client in the country legally with whatever we have in the regulations, but then the judge cannot really do more than, you know, because they feel sorry for the person. And
They have to go by the law.
they have to go by the law.
They have to go by the law, and sometimes as much as you feel sorry for someone, they just are not eligible for relief.
They're not eligible for relief, and also, you know, when you get to the end of the road in which you have tried the motions to reopen, or you end up in front of the judge, and then your case was denied, now you can go.
Try to appeal.
Yeah, now you can do the appeal, you can try the appeal, and maybe a motion to reconsider, try to do the appeal. Maybe you can, you know, it will take close to 2-3 years before you really, you know, have to just like, you know what, you have to go back home, and you have to let go. Or some people who do have a good case that they could pursue, but they are afraid of going back to Mexico, to Guatemala, to El Salvador, Honduras, but they have to go back home in order to get that interview and come back with a green card. But we, the attorneys, cannot make that decision for the client. We are not going to make that decision, because once we make that decision, we're going to have to live with it. We're going to tell the client what the options are on the table, and they will have to make the decision themselves. And if they want to continue under the radar here in the dark, or they want to take a leap of faith, go back to their country, and come back through the big door with a green card. And it's a hard decision not to take that opportunity and then just stay here thinking that some some government official is gonna, somehow say, okay, everybody enter here. You see what's happening with DACA. You want to explain a little bit what DACA, how DACA started and what is happening now when they say they want to, reassign, and in other words, the people who are minors, who are here, who were here in November 2020, so they all enter, be eligible for DACA.
So DACA is Deferred Action for Child Providers, and it's basically what a lot of people think is the Dreamers Act, right? But it's not the Dreamers Act. It's something that was passed back in the Obama years to kind of protect the children that came in at a certain date and time, and that were a certain age, and they were certain underage at that point. So you had to be under 16 at the time that DACA came out, and under 16 when you came in. I'm sorry. When you came in,
Under 30.
30 at the time that DACA was established. And so what happened was we had an influx of kids coming in. Remember that? The unaccompanied minors, there were 100,000 unaccompanied minors that came in just in 1 year because of this, because the rumor was by the coyotes that if these kids came in by themselves, they would eventually be able to petition for their parents, and the parents would be able to come. And so, but DACA did help a lot of, young adults that were here, that were in school and whatnot, and it gave them a pathway to at least obtain a work permit and maybe an ID. The problem now is that what you're saying is, instead of actually giving a path to these kids to maybe have a residency or whatnot, now they're thinking of just expanding DACA, right? I want to explain a little more about that.
Okay, they want to expand it to say, okay, everybody who entered up to the point of November 2020 and is a minor, they all come in. They all can apply for that. The problem with that is that there were 800,000 of those children in that situation that now are adults, that they keep kicking the can, and now they still under DACA, which is a temporary protection that they have to renew every year. And now they're letting more kids come in. What happened to it's like having a refrigerator and you go to the store every week, but you don't cook the food that you just purchased, and then you just put more food in the refrigerator, and the food that was there is being spoiled. You're not doing anything with it, you're not cleaning the refrigerator, you're not cooking the food, you're not using the food, but you go to the store and put in more and more and more. What purpose is that serving?
I get that call from clients as well, and the DACA recipients who say, when can I become a citizen? I said, well, first you have to become a resident. There's nothing there yet,
That is one of the things we see on the government level, at every level, we need a path to citizenship. Do they know that before they go to the citizenship, they have to go through the green card holder, or they're gonna jump that all together? Because if that's the
but it
case,
sounds better to say that, and it's very political. It sounds better to say we need a path to citizenship.
there is not, that is,
the path to citizenship.
there is no path to citizenship. You don't go from 0 to 60 in one day. And you don't go to being sitting on the couch to football pro, Tom Brady, in a week. So there's no way, nobody can tell, no government official, because I don't know who's advising these people when they come up with this slogan saying, a path to citizenship. But what that path to citizenship didn't have to start somewhere. And it doesn't start with the blue passport. Because if that's the case, we all got fooled taking the citizenship exam for what? So keep in mind that basically, now that we're talking in the community, and it's co-labels, and we have officials, because each community is their own little kingdom, and you have the officials there who will be the equivalent of the officials at the federal level. Immigration is federal, but it works and affects communities like ours. Many people have the conception that, they have the concept that they want to, they ask me in one of my debates or, conversations with young adults, They want to know what Coral Gables, what is Coral Gables' vision for the illegal immigrants? What that question is supposed to mean? Because I try to articulate some sort of a cohesive answer to this young lady who asked about what is Coral Gables gonna do about how we're gonna treat the illegal immigrants and how we're going to address the fact that they need to work. And I told this lady that first of all, she doesn't have to assume that all the illegal immigrants that come to Coral Gables is because they're gonna, clean our houses. But if that's the case, Coral Gables have employed people, and they don't even know sometimes if the person has papers. And when they find out that the person has immigration problems, they try to help. They call the attorney, they even pay for the consultation. They try to make that first step just to see how can they help. So it's not fair to view that the community of Coral Gables is not in tune with what is happening.
No, and there's a lot of immigrants, there's a lot of clients of mine that actually reside in the city of Coral Gables.
Correct.
It's not only the nannies and the housekeepers and whatnot. We have a lot of, so I think it's I think one interesting question, and I'll pose it to you since I know you're running for city commissioner. And I think it's more of a question for our police department. Is whether what they're going to be doing when they stop someone, what their current policy is, and what their policy going forward is. We always have that issue with police departments as to whether or not they're going to be contacting immigration when they detain someone that doesn't have papers, that doesn't have a valid driver's license and whatnot. So I think that's an interesting question that maybe you can pose as someone who's running for city commissioner.
Okay, this is what happened. We have to keep in mind that no matter what, we have to obey the law. We have to abide by the regulations of it doesn't matter what community we are in, we have to abide by the law. So it's not fair to think that a policeman will just stop someone and then if he believes that the person doesn't have any papers, they're gonna let him go. Because what happened to the victim? What happened to the taxpayer who was victim of a person who just went through the house? We have a client. Well, he's working in his paperwork, married to a citizen, and they forgot the sliding door of the patio to the pool. They left the door open, door locked, and sure enough, 3 youngsters, they went and opened the sliding door, went inside the house where they were upstairs sleeping. Think about that home invasion during the night. Oh, we don't know if they were armed, but right now it's like there's some sort of, well, we don't want to say the name of the person that were involved because one of them is Hispanic and the other one is Black. So, and the one who is responsible lives in the community. So, is it fair to have the police just ignore that because there is somebody who's going to be having some sort of problems at this rate? No, it's not. So the police have to obey the law at all costs, anytime, no matter what community or how rich or how limited resources is the community could be.
Very well. Very well.
So when situations like this come about, it's not a matter of the commissioner saying no, don't do it, or don't apply the law, or don't arrest anyone. Is what have to happen is that the person have to, the police have to find out who was the victim and who were. Okay, bueno, vamos a cambiar a español un poquito porque las personas están diciendo, hablo un poco en español porque no entendemos. Estamos hablando en situación de que tiene que ver con qué pasa si la policía detiene a una persona que no tiene documentos. En el pasado hubo una coordinación en la cual se decía lo que son ciudades santuarios. Las ciudades santuarios son aquellas ciudades en las cuales ellos no notificarían al departamento de policía en caso de que detuvieran a una persona que no tuviese documentos. Se supone que el policía tiene que llamar al Highway Patrol o el Trooper, llaman a ICE si no hay cómo verificar que la persona tiene documentos. Ahora mismo hay una controversia con eso porque se piensa que ciudades santuarios tiene que ver con algo religioso, con algo de que estamos protegiendo. No se trata de protección, se trata de cumplimiento de la ley. Y también se trata de quién paga qué, porque cuando una fuerza policial, un policía para una persona, esa persona no tiene documentos, el policía llama a ICE.
El policía tiene la decisión, yo creo que esa es la pregunta, ¿verdad? El policía tiene la decisión que si lo manda a la cárcel o si llama a inmigración. Yo creo que esa es la pregunta, ¿no?
Pero la pregunta es esa, pero la cuestión es que el policía, como no va a tener jurisdicción sobre esa persona, porque tiene que ver qué vino primero, no tiene documentación. Como quiera, ellos tramitan si está manejando sin licencia o está manejando embriagado, eso se tramita. Pero llega el momento en que tiene que llamar al departamento de ICE, porque esa persona tiene una cuenta pendiente con ICE. Entonces tiene que llamar a ICE para que ICE tome posesión de ese individuo. Ahora la cuestión viene, no es por cuestión de proteger a la persona. El problema radica en que la ciudad tiene un convenio con el departamento de policía en el cual ellos van a pagar vamos a decir, el hotel o el housing de la persona que ellos detengan. Cuando una persona sale, cuando la persona cumple con su condena, vamos a decir, cumple 6 meses de cárcel, ahí tiene 48 horas para recoger a esa persona y llevárselo para el centro de detención. Pero ¿quién paga por esas 48 horas? ¿Quién paga por esas 2 noches en ese hotel llamado La Gran Casa? Ese es el problema. Entonces, la ciudad quiere que le reembolsen ese dinerito que se gastó dándole comida, agua y cama a ese detenido. Entonces, la ciudad decidió, si tú no me vas a pagar, Departamento de Inmigración, pues yo, cuando termine con este cliente, lo voy a soltar para la calle, tú sal a buscarlo. Y ahí radicaba el problema. No es que querían ni proteger al detenido, ni tampoco proteger a la comunidad. Es solamente una cuestión de dinero. Ahora, esta cuestión de dinero tiene que descifrarse porque no se trata de, hay que dejarlo así porque no tenemos otro remedio por razones políticas. Estamos también determinando, ahora en español que estábamos hablando todo en inglés, determinando cuál es la mejor manera de que usted pueda estar informado de su caso para cuando usted vaya a un abogado, usted pueda decir, usted pueda articular qué es lo que está pasando en su caso y ya saber para dónde va. Entonces, por eso estuvimos hablando de su récord migratorio, que es importante que usted pueda tener una copia de su récord migratorio, sea que sea un CD o que sean los mismos papeles. Las personas no tienen ni siquiera su número de alguien para nosotros chequear